I do like JD a lot.
The Republican red got a lot of green from the Silicon Valley ATM.
And instead of attacking industries of the future, we will embrace them.
Today, we're taking a look at what a Trump presidency could mean for tech.
That the United States will be the crypto capital of the planet.
Everything from digital cash to artificial intelligence.
What is the thing that Silicon Valley thinks it's going to get from a Trump administration?
This is CBS News Bay Area with Elizabeth Cook.
I'm Ann Makovec in for Liz, and now President-elect Trump courted big tech during his campaign, promising fewer regulations. But if the guardrails go away, will AI companies run wild? And can states like California do anything to stop it? Today, we are asking what a second Trump presidency could mean for Silicon Valley. Well, President-elect Trump has been busy forming his cabinet, announcing more key appointments. He's nominated the former director of national intelligence to head the CIA. And we just learned that he is nominating Fox News host Pete Hegseth as defense secretary. As Christian Benavides reports, his early picks are focused on foreign policy.
President-elect Donald Trump is previewing his priorities in the new administration with the announcement of his first cabinet picks.
Lots to do. We know the clock is ticking, but I think we'll hit the ground running.
On the foreign policy front, Trump's chosen Congressman Mike Waltz for National Security Advisor. The first Green Beret to serve in Congress has echoed Trump's complaints about the war in Ukraine.
Let's end this war in Ukraine. Let's pivot to deal with China. Let's secure our border.
Florida Senator Marco Rubio will also help shape foreign policy as Trump's expected pick for Secretary of State.
How close is this country to being dragged into some sort of global conflict? We now have troops from North Korea side by side with Russians on the ground in Ukraine.
Trump also announced he's picked former Governor Mike Huckabee to serve as ambassador to Israel, demonstrating his commitment to Benjamin Netanyahu's government, even as it fights the war in Gaza.
For Trump, foreign policy begins at the border, and the first people he's named to his administration have been tasked with a southern border crackdown and deporting millions of undocumented immigrants.
South Dakota Governor Kristi Noem is Trump's choice to head the Department of Homeland Security. DHS includes Border Patrol and Immigration and Customs officials.
Make no mistake, an invasion of our country is happening, and our border is a war zone.
Trump has also named former ICE Director Tom Homan as his border czar. Homan will work with, but not under, Noem. He will answer directly to the president.
Well, Stephen Miller, Trump's new deputy chief of staff for policy, is going to focus on border issues. He and Homan previously crafted the zero-tolerance policy that led to some migrant family separations. Trump has promised to cut regulations on tech companies. And coming up, we're going to ask an expert what fewer restrictions on AI could mean for Silicon Valley and our jobs. Well, President Trump embraced the tech sector on the campaign trail. He won the endorsement of Tesla CEO Elon Musk. He was also the first major candidate to accept Bitcoin campaign donations.
I'm laying out my plan to ensure that the United States will be the crypto capital of the planet and the Bitcoin superpower of the world, and we'll get it done. If crypto is going to define the future, I want to be mined, minted, and made in the USA.
Well, the president-elect has promised to cut down on regulations. He also pledged to get rid of an executive order from President Biden regulating artificial intelligence. Well, his running mate, J.D. Vance, talked about the future of AI at a campaign stop in October, saying that supporting AI goes hand in hand with their energy policies.
AI requires so much power that unless we have effectively unlimited power, we're not going to be able to power the AI revolution. I mean, this is like crazy, space age stuff. Like, instead of going to a doctor to get your skin checked out to see if you have skin cancer, for example, you can take a photo and it'll tell you whether you have cancer. Like, that's what the AI revolution is going to mean.
Well, Vance has some major tech connections. He spent time working in Silicon Valley for Peter Thiel, co-founder of PayPal. Thiel helped bankroll Vance's run for the Senate. Vance is also well connected to billionaire David Sacks, a former tech exec and podcaster who held a Trump fundraiser at his home in San Francisco this summer. Sacks is also a big supporter of Elon Musk. Since Musk took over Twitter, Musk himself endorsed Trump in July and has used his platform X as a rallying place for the now president-elect. Well, this weekend, Margaret Brennan spoke about all these Trump tech connections with South Bay Congressman Ro Khanna.
What is the thing that Silicon Valley thinks it's going to get from a Trump administration? Is it no taxes on capital gains? Is it not regulating crypto? What is it that the people in your district think they're getting from Donald Trump?
Well, first of all, Margaret, 70% of Silicon Valley still supported Vice President Harris and Democrats. But you're right that we had slippage, and probably now 20, 30% support Donald Trump. They have different reasons for doing it. Some of them want more free speech. Some of them want deregulation. Some of them want tax cuts. Some of them want AI not to be regulated. Some of them were concerned on crypto. But I think what the Democrats need to remind folks of, and I've reminded Elon of this, is that Tesla got funding from President Obama. SpaceX got started because Ash Carter, under President Obama, helped Elon get that facility. The Democrats are the party that has invested in the science and technology to help build Silicon Valley. And we can be the party that helps AI and robotics build new factories, build new industry in different parts of the country.
Now, earlier this year, Governor Newsom signed a series of bills to regulate AI. Right now, he is in Washington, D.C., where he says he is trying to protect California's policies. Well, joining me now is Dr. Olaf Groth, a public policy professor with Berkeley's Haas School of Business. Thanks for being here today. How do you think a Trump presidency is going to treat big tech?
Good to be with you as well, Ann. So a Trump administration will very clearly emphasize every piece of regulation that is good for innovation, that is good for business, and less so for social justice. They believe that the Biden administration has gone too far in protecting minorities and in cramping free speech. And so that will likely change. However, the Trump administration or administration that we're looking toward has also said that AI safety will remain a concern. And I think Elon Musk is a prominent voice on that front. So it's not like we're not going to see any regulation, but I think the weighting is going to be significantly different. I think we're also going to see a lot of regulation that will promote AI as an America first kind of tool vis-a-vis the competition with China. So a lot of the economic agenda will also be driven by national policy concerns.
Yeah, so let's drill down a little bit on AI specifically. We know President Biden signed an executive order last year that put several guardrails, actually wide-ranging rules on AI, and Trump has talked about repealing that executive order completely. Republicans talking about unleashing the technology. What could that look like?
Yeah, so first of all, he will most likely repeal that executive order, but let's not forget that that executive order actually harked back to two executive orders that President Trump himself released. So we are likely going to see a new executive order that will call for some of the stuff that's already been there, but then in addition and as a main focus to something like Manhattan projects for artificial intelligence that are focused on putting America first and making sure that America retains leadership around the world. So that means making it easier for entrepreneurs to innovate. Elon Musk, of course, being a whisperer in Trump's ear, is a big fan of open source and of making sure that AI is not dominated by just the 4 or 5 big American platforms, but really that a chance is being given to entrepreneurs countrywide who want to bring America's edge to the fore.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit about the actual nuts and bolts of the technology here. We know that Mr. Trump has the Made in America policy. What about the chips and some of the, cell phones and whatnot that are made overseas right now?
Yeah, so you need some of those chips, and we certainly have the CHIPS Act in place that stresses that we need to, repatriate, as it were, onshore some of those offshore manufacturing capabilities. That has not quite worked as we had envisioned just yet, as we're seeing with the Intel example. but the Trump administration is likely going to drive that even further, restricting both hardware as well as software exports to China. That could potentially backfire as China then retaliates with some things that we really need for our own high-tech manufacturing, and that is first and foremost the critical minerals that are needed to make those chips.
Now, Trump has also leaned in quite hard on, protecting American workers during the campaign, but there is a lot of concern that AI and other tech could be coming for our jobs.
Well, look, I think the worker of the future will have to learn and be proficient at working alongside AI. I think the only worker, though, that is permanently threatened are those that are not willing to engage. So here we have to, as leaders, diminish and mitigate the anxiety that's currently out there and equip workers to work with these new cognitive technologies like AI and data science and new automation technologies. And if he's smart about industrial policy, he will make sure that these kinds of capability building and training programs are in place. Those workers that integrate well with those technologies won't have much to fear.
Now, it's difficult when you think of technology because their borders aren't really borders when everything's in the cloud. But there is some talk about states regulating AI, and we certainly know that Governor Newsom would have different thoughts on that than, say, a President Trump. How might that play out?
Well, we're seeing California and other states, around 19 or 20 or so, having been at the avant-garde of regulation on AI here in the United States. And of course, the fear is that more and more states will regulate and that we'll get a patchwork of different regulations rather than one national regulation, which would be good for business to have, because business likes to play to one set of regulation for a large market like the United States. There is a slim chance that states will get together and say, look, we have to homogenize our state-based regulation so that that large national market will actually take an effect, sort of bubbling it up, bottoms up, as it were. But that is very tedious and slow work.
All right. It's all a lot to take in, but we appreciate your perspective, Dr. Olaf Groth, as always, and we know you'll help us make sense of it as we go on. Thanks for watching. You can always get all the latest headlines and weather over on KPIX Plus. And remember to like and click the button on the bottom left of your screen to subscribe for the biggest Bay Area news.